It is real.
Yes, Medieval 3 is real.
They have finally announced Total War Medieval 3 is really happening. You probably know this by now. The Total War 25th Anniversary Showcase has some big news and some missing things that we were anticipating. I've been talking and hoping for a Medieval 3 more than a year ago. The time is right for this, and it seems like this showcase was CA trying to prove to the community that they are moving in the right direction, that they have not abandoned historical Total War, which they have so eloquently said. It is part of the studio and will be a big part of CA moving forward. Then of course they also talked about a new engine or a major upgrade to Warscape called Warcore, which sounds more like some metalcore band, to be honest, but we'll go with that. But the star of the show, Total War Medieval 3, we probably won't be getting it anytime soon. 2027? Nah, I don't think so. We'll be lucky if it hits 2028, as I'm sure it will be based on the new engine. Who knows how far ahead the new engine is. As explained by the devs, it is the first version which they will improve over time. Now, they decided to announce Med 3 very early, a bit of a first for them, I think primarily to quell the unhappiness of the historical Total War fans. This is quite possibly a Bethesda Elder Scrolls 6 moment? God, I hope not. I hope it moves faster than the development of Elder Scrolls 6. The game director and senior designer talked generally about the medieval period, not so much the mechanics or features of Med 3, which goes to show the game is taking shape. Features have not been nailed down, they are working on a design document, something studios work on to set the vision and scope of the game. But if we base things off of what they said, it does seem like Med 3 will be massive. One thing very clear in the interview as well as the live action trailer, Med 3 will be less about only conquest and painting the map red, a reference that was made in the trailer. Med 3 should include different ways of advancing your realm beyond just conquest. There seems to be an emphasis on achieving something great through influence or wealth, or maybe even subterfuge and assassinations through piety. So it could be that they are borrowing some element of a GSG, a grand strategy game. Perhaps they are toying with the idea of introducing something like prestige as a way to make it more open to different victory types. I don't know about this, since Total War is about Total War and trying to make it more historical realistic in terms of systems makes for a game that could be more than just Total War. Maybe this will be the Total War game for Paradox fans to jump into. Perhaps we should look at it from a new perspective of Total War. It's more about your influence and prestige. Beyond that, during the discussion about the medieval period, a few things I noted. They didn't want to define it to a smaller period in time. I think they said it was to be from high to late medieval period, which seems to be the sweet spot, which is around when Med 2 was set in. They talk about how they want Med 3 to be a sandbox of historical possibilities, that you would steer your realm however you wanted to. Maybe form your new nation. Interestingly, there is also talk about how recruitment isn't about paying people to make up your combat unit, but about levies and vassals. Are they considering including vassals and lords as part of a levy recruitment system? Maybe they could be a sort of a loyalty system with your lords. This would make Med 3 inch ever closer to being a Paradox-style grand strategy game, a la Crusader Kings 3. I do think many fans would like this direction, but there is something to be said about the simplicity of Med 2. Still, personally, in my humble opinion, I do not think it will be as complex as a grand strategy game. but would have simplified mechanics based on these new systems. A Total War campaign mechanics has become much more developed throughout the years, especially when we look at something like Three Kingdoms. So I don't doubt they could make an abstract system with levies and vassals and characters even. You know, it would have been perfect if they announced Medieval 2 Total War Remastered, but they didn't. I'm still hoping for that, although there is some concern about whether CA has the complete source code and such, since there are some talk about some of it missing after CA Australia was shuttered. If Med 3 is to simulate more complex medieval politics, I've heard the devs use the word simulation here, then a Med 2 remaster would be the perfect companion for those that want the more classic Total War formula. Maybe it's not too late yet, sometime in the future, maybe, nearer to the release of Medieval 3. Then there is the rather huge news that you won't even need Warhammer 3 or 2 or 1 to play Immortal Empires. Apparently you can purchase one of the 4 legendary lords from the Lords of the End Times DLC, and you'll be able to play Immortal Empires when that DLC actually releases. That seems like a huge change, a change that will make it easier for new players to get to play the game at a reasonable cost. With the announcement of Lords of the End Times, which is slated to be released in summer 2026, potentially bringing even more players into the fold. Although I do think for such an ambitious DLC, which reworks the campaign map and battle maps to be more apocalyptic, adding new crises and gameplay mechanics, this could get delayed. They would need more time to work things out, so I'm not expecting them to rush it to release in the summer of 2026, although we shall see. But I want to get back to that little talk about their new Total War engine, War Core, where they mentioned they will use better physics in the form of Havoc physics system. The devs mentioned how destruction could have a gameplay effect. They said it would impact the way units move around them, possibly creating choke points, but perhaps, just maybe, a new cover system, something that could be used in a Total War Warhammer 40k, maybe. I felt like that was a hint of sorts on what's to come for the future of Total War. You know, I was a bit disappointed we didn't get the announcement of the next big Total War, but we won't have to wait long. The Game Awards happens on December 11th, and we will get an announcement of what a lot of people are saying will be Total War Warhammer 40k. I do think, and this is my prediction here, I might be wrong, Creative Assembly won't have a new game next year. No new Total War in 2026. So they will have to work on the big DLC for Warhammer 3, the End Times, and whatever else that comes next for Immortal Empires. Which they have confirmed there will be more DLCs for Immortal Empires. Actually, I missed this one out. They also want to bring in the Realm of Chaos battle maps into Immortal Empires, which is cool. So yeah, I don't think Total War Warhammer 40k will be a next year game, perhaps 2027 or 2028. So nothing new that's very soon from Creative Assembly. Such is the dev cycle when dealing with a new engine. But I'll be eagerly awaiting the announcement at the Game Awards, as I'm sure you would too. Anyway, do tell me what you thought about the 25th anniversary showcase. Any guesses from you about what Med 3 could be? Do you think it's going to be 40k announced on December 11th? Sound off in the comments. Speaking about the Game Awards, I did do a video about it and the rather unexciting strategy game category for the awards. Also, I did a speculative video on Total War Warhammer 40k. You can watch these videos over here. Thanks for watching and farewell, noble friends.